You know, when things in America get genuinely upsetting, I sometimes like to take a step back, sidle unobtrusively to the door, slip out, run to my car before anyone notices I'm gone, drive to the airport, and catch a plane to one of the isolated islands of French Polynesia where I can while away the hours with my bare-breasted native lover, Tehomana, while dining on luscious local fruits and drinking the milk of coconuts, preferably laced with vodka or possibly LSD, whichever is more likely to transform this shrieking hellscape into a colorful, star-speckled hallucination, something like the album cover of the Magical Mystery Tour, except without Paul being dead. But if that option is not available because of airplane schedules or short supplies of really good drugs, sometimes instead I remind myself that periods of insanity and disorder like this have been a reoccurring feature of American history. Just this week, Michael Barone, the brilliant political analyst, unless it was the Michael Barone who sells ice cream from that big white truck near Central Park. That's probably the political guy, right? Anyway, he wrote a helpful article in the New York Sun pointing out that, quote, America goes crazy every 50 years or so, unquote. Barone begins with discussing the War of 1812, when the British burned Washington, D.C. to the ground before Andrew Jackson defeated their forces at the Battle of New Orleans. And that really was crazy when you think about it, because the British had just finished burning Washington, D.C. to the ground. So defeating them at New Orleans was incredibly ungrateful. We should have strewn their feet with roses and asked them to come back every few years to make sure no one built the place up again. I mean, sure, who wants the British here when they all talk like homosexuals? That's why we had a revolution. A lot of good that did us. Where was I? Oh, yeah. 50 years later, we went crazy again and started killing each other in the Civil War. Now, don't get me wrong, the Civil War was fought over the very important issue of women's rights. How was Scarlett OHara supposed to hold down a job when she had to wear a skirt with the circumference of a helicopter pad? Fortunately, Clark Gable was able to smuggle her out of Atlanta as the city burned down around them, so the war was won and everything went back to normal. But for a minute there, I thought we were in real trouble. Crazy time arrived again like clockwork, 50 years later, with the election of Woodrow Wilson. Now, Wilson did establish some beloved and long-lasting American traditions, like blacks voting for Democrats who hate them, and Americans getting killed in wars that have nothing to do with us. But he did go overboard with the 1917 Espionage Act, which gave the government power to silence and imprison its political enemies. Luckily, nothing like that could ever happen today, or if it could, I wouldn't be stupid enough to say so out loud, because you know what happens. Then came the 60s, when American socialists burned down cities, encouraged spiking crime, destroyed the relations between the sexes, and gutted our institutions. Then came the 2000s, when American socialists burned down cities, encouraged spiking crime, destroyed the relations between the sexes, and gutted our institutions. But no matter how ravingly insane American socialists became, some things in this country remained dependably consistent, like Bernie Sanders. So my message to you today is that no matter how much the flaming wreckage of our country begins to look like the inside of Bernie Sanders' mind, except without all those women who enjoy getting tied up for some reason, you should never lose hope. Or if you do lose hope, you should never lose faith that you could have hope if you hadn't lost your faith. And if you lose both your faith and your hope, you shouldn't get that look on your face where your lower lip starts to tremble and your cheeks get all red and puffy. Unless you're a girl, then it can be kind of cute. But don't overplay it. Because whatever happens, you can always just remind yourself that every 50 years, America goes crazy, then we get over it in like 49 years or so. Man, that was brilliant, wasn't it? And if you want more great content like that, like and subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.